Welcome back, everybody. It's Aaron and
Hey.
I starting officially with an intro and a greeting rather than a middle of a sentence. Shall we try something new today, Aaron? Let's welcome our guests. Welcome.
Okay. Hi. Welcome.
Yes.
How you doing?
Oh, how you doing? Today
How
we're
you
talking.
doing?
Yeah, let's. I can set this up with. Well, we've been talking about making donuts. If you're old enough to remember the commercial "Time to Make the Donuts."
Well, that is so there's okay, good. I was just wondering about that. So are you old enough to have seen that
Oh, I
commercial?
love it. Yeah, the guy with the mustache and
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay,
it's
good.
great.
So that's the question for the listeners. You can get to us. I want to know at what age. I want to know what age you are. And yes, I've seen Time to Make the Donuts, or no, I haven't. I thought it was an East Coast thing, by the way, too, because
Yeah, I know.
Dunkin' Donuts wasn't a West Coast phenomena for most of my life.
Portland, Oregon. Yeah.
Great. All right, good. So what age are you, and are you time to, so for those of you that are too young, you're going to have to Google it, but you'll get the context of it fairly easily here. And we're going to combine Time to Make the Donuts. We're going to combine Dunkin' Donuts with Pablo Picasso.
Yeah.
Which are really, oh my God. Now all I want to do is have a donut and look at art. I would be so happy to do that. That would be really, really good.
Yeah.
The Pablo Picasso quote that we're playing with, or that we're starting with, is inspiration exists, but it has to find you working. And the thing we want to explore, the things is, this myth that if you do something you love, if you find a job or a career or something that you love, you'll never work a day in your life. Right. That's the saying. And I think that's bullshit. I'm calling bullshit on that. I don't think that's accurate. I think it's harmful because, in real estate, I see it all the time as I'm training agents that, we fall out of love with things when they become work all the time. I mean, that's such a human phenomena it's not possible to be in love 24/7 for the rest of your life. Marriage doesn't work like that. I adore my wife. I'm in love with my wife. And there are times at which that is not present.
Right. Right.
That is an intellectual understanding of a promise that I made, but it is not the physical experience in the moment. And what keeps me in the relationship isn't inspiration.
Yeah.
I have to do some work to get back to inspiration. So we want to, I think there's just a lot in that. So did you want to set something up, or did you want
when you said that, I felt like I can see the truth in the statement. Like, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. I can see where they're trying to go with that saying. Like,
totally.
One, it's a romantic saying, like, I love that. It's you'll never work a day. Yes. But I think then I think I brought up the point, like, if you can see life as art and you're painting a canvas, and that canvas is your life or your work or whatever, that the experience of the work is one of creation, expression, and it's simply painting. It's the next brushstroke. It's the next thing. But if you can't hold that context or frame for life or relationships or whatever it is, if you can't hold it as this is art and a self-expression for me, then you fall back into it's time to make the donuts and the heaviness of work, the heaviness of showing up and having to do work.
Yeah. And
so there's this in between somewhere. You can't hold the context of I'm painting my life as an artist 24/7 the rest of your life. There's
going to be dishes to do. There's going to be laundry to do. There's first of all, there's the mundane.
Yeah.
Which, again, kids, I love my kids. I don't fight me. My kids are the best thing ever. Fills my heart with joy. And every fucking night I have to decide what to cook for dinner. Every fucking night. Every night.
Every morning I do dishes.
Every night. And then there's dishes. And then it's like, oh my God, then we got to clean the kitchen again. And then there's laundry. Oh, it's a never ending mountain of laundry, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Doesn't feel like art.
That is like, oh, I love my life. And the reality is, and I think, Chris, you said it perfectly. It's 100% a context game, which is why we're starting the workshops that we're doing, the grind to flow workshops, as with a contextual metaphor. For that. I'm just going to create it now, just because we have these workshops that we're creating from grind to flow, right? Uncovering your true north, your life's true north. And what the workshop is about is, it's best explained or best experienced in a metaphor of the stone cutters, which is, the story goes like this. A man's walking down the street, bright sunny day, or down a country path, and it's in Italy, but I can't do Italian accents, so I won't try, but you'll have to imagine it.
It's in New York.
It's not in New York.
Okay.
It could be in New York, but it's in Italy. Anyway, he's walking down the street and he sees a guy, and the guy has a big hammer in his hand, big heavy hammer in his hand, and a chisel, and he's sweating and he's banging this chisel against this rock, and his movements are jerky, and he's angry, and you can just see it. You ever see anyone and they're like going for it?
Project.
What's that?
It's me on a house project.
Yeah, good. And the guy walking says, "Excuse me, sir, but what is it? What are you doing?" And the guy says, "What are you, an idiot? I am breaking stones here." Right. And goes back to hitting the chisel with the hammer. And the guy says, "Whoa, okay, fine. Sorry, didn't mean to bother you." And he walks down the road in a few paces, and he sees another guy with a hammer and a chisel and the whole same setups, chisel, rock, hammer. And this guy is neatly dressed, clean jeans, shirt tucked in, little suspenders, right? Jaunty cap, right? And he's working his way around the stone systematically, banging on the stone. And the traveler says, "Excuse me, sir, but what is it that you're doing? What are you doing?" And the guy says, "Well, I am a stonemason, and this is my job. I'm carving the stone." And the guy says, "Well, thank you very much." And he continues walking a few more paces down the road. And there's another guy there. And this guy, you've ever seen someone whose movements don't look like they're moving at all. I just went to the Mariners game and I watched Shohei Ohtani bat, or the guy is effortless, is just effortless, just an effortless swing, effortless at what they do. There's a light in their eyes, and he's got a hammer and a chisel and the stone, and he's working his way around the stone that way. And it looks like he's almost dancing, right? Just flowing around the stone. And the guy says, "Excuse me, sir, but what is it you're doing?" And the guy with the hammer looks up. He says, "Well, I'm building a cathedral." And that's the metaphor we're using for our work, from grind to flow, because if you're chipping stone, you're grinding. And if you're building a cathedral, you're going to be in the flow. It's what you say you're doing. It's what you say you're up to that matters. It's the context in which you hold what you're doing that matters. Now, the workshop, just to complete the workshop part, the workshop is to actually have you get clear and be able to articulate what is the cathedral in honor of. Right. Yeah. The workshop is first, a cathedral is there built to honor God. Yes. Whatever your version of God is, a mosque is to honor whatever. Right. Yeah. So the cathedral's not the point. The cathedral is a house to celebrate an idea. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So the workshop is, let's get the idea clear. And then you could start to build a cathedral. And the workshop also includes, all right, well, what are we going to do to build this cathedral? And to keep that context alive is the point of the workshop, because otherwise you wind up chipping stone, breaking rocks, right? Yeah. And, this doubles back, or go back to the initial conversation about our work and the bullshit of find what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. The guy who's flowing, building a cathedral, still needs to pick up the hammer and chisel. Yeah. He's working. He's got to do laundry. He's got to eat. He's got to do all the mundane things. And I guarantee you that guy, some days his muscles hurt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. The humanity of it. So it's not possible to, not possible to stay in that context 24/7 is what you were saying. It's just not, it's not an achievable goal.
Right.
And it's a mistake. That's why I think the saying, find what you love to do and you'll never work a day in your life is bullshit, because you are going to work. It's going to occur like work. It's not, it's a unicorn to think, oh, I'll never work. And the problem I have with it is in training agents, particularly, or training anyone. I've trained, thousands and thousands of people. And the thing that blows my mind is when it starts to occur like work, like people get inspired and they commit themselves to action. And they say, okay, this is what I'm up to. And everyone gets their real estate license and is inspired into action in the game we're playing here, right? No one gets their license and like, oh, okay, now I get to make donuts. No one thinks that, right? They all get their license and they're like, okay, $1 million listing or whatever it is, right? You were like, when you got your license, right? And then it turns into work. And then rather than saying, okay, that's my opportunity to develop my muscle in creating the context in which I came in. This is it, that I've discovered myself in not enjoying it. Discovered myself right now in this moment, breaking rocks. This is my opportunity to create an empowering context. This is my opportunity to build a cathedral. They say this, I must not be doing the right. This is not for me. I should quit. I should go find some other work that I love where I'll never experience working. That's not fucking happening. That is not coming your way. There is no life without laundry and dishes.
Yeah. I do think there's a place where there's scaffolding you can put around the experience of building a cathedral that, to use the metaphor, that this is why I love the container of community. I think when you surround yourself with others who are building a cathedral, right, from their true north, that they're in the conversation of flow, not grind. They're in the conversation of building something their life is for, not the next transaction, that it is easier to be restored, to be inspired, to be refilled on a scheduled basis than if you were someone who set out to build a cathedral, but then put yourself in a group of stone breakers who are sitting there complaining about breaking stone. Like, one is going to suck your energy and one is going to fill you up.
Or the whole idea, really the whole idea of this podcast is because the normal existing community that real estate exists in is how many stones can I chip the quickest?
Right.
How fancy can my cathedral be and how fast can I get there?
Right.
Not how much time can I spend inside celebrating that which the cathedral is built to celebrate. Right. And so everything that we do, Chris, is about that, creating that container, creating that community. Scaffolding is a brilliant, thing, but that's why this is sort of like a commitment device. The workshop and the follow-up group and this podcast and our groups in general are serve the purpose of a commitment device. They're like, okay, I go to the gym because my body needs to be worked regularly in a particular way so that it doesn't fall apart. And I have an hour-and-a-half mastermind with a group of like-minded agents so that my mind doesn't fall apart and I don't wind up making the donuts again inside this other thing like that, like this world. It's just, that's what we're doing. Wait. I mean,
there was that piece, how I remember it in the Landmark Forum was, the possibility lives in the words. It lives in the conversation, that the minute you stop talking about the possibility dies. I don't know if that's how I remember it. Is that how it's said? That there is and the possibility that we're talking about in this episode is not the possibility of building a cathedral. The possibility is what the cathedral's in service of, is what the cathedral is honoring. And so it's easy for people to hear our words, then go, oh, I'm just going to go. So they say, I'm going to go build a cathedral. And you miss the point of going, This isn't about building a cathedral. This is about the life that lives in the cathedral. It's about the true north, that breath of life. Cathedrals are walls. It's a building. It's inanimate.
And
You
there are
know?
all kinds of, I mean, forget about, now when we say cathedrals, but, there are some super,
Yeah.
ordinary rooms in which
Yes. Beautiful.
God is celebrated.
Yeah.
Not that my son is in France, and he's seeing all the cathedrals. He's sending me back pictures of the cathedrals, and those are like,
wow. Yeah.
cathedrals, right? I mean, there's some stuff there. But when I got bar mitzvahed, I got bar mitzvahed at a friend's meeting house, Quaker
Oh, nice.
friends meeting house, which it couldn't be more plain.
Right.
Couldn't have been less ornate. Couldn't have been further from the cathedrals my son is in, and yet the spirit of which was being celebrated was as present, if not more, but as present in that room. So it's not the cathedral, it's not the walls, it's not the construct, it's what you're celebrating.
Yeah.
And then I hadn't heard that.
Yeah. And and I know you all listening to this probably don't need me to clarify this, but it's not even like what the cathedral is in honor of doesn't need to be God, doesn't need to be the universe. There is some passion or calling. There's a thing that is and that's actually a litmus test, right? Like is no one can give you this thing that you're working for, right? No one can give it to you. You can't find it in a book. You can't, somebody can't give you your transcendental meditation phrase and have that be the thing. Like this is a calling. It wells up from your soul, and you say, "This is what my life is in service to." It's a life's work, and that's far outside, to me. It's far outside the definition of transactions in GCI. This is about what is your legacy, and not only what do you want to be remembered for, but what do you want to pass on? What would make the world a better place? And and life has already taught you that. You've had the lived experiences that say, what the world needs more of is blank. And when you start to get a sense of that, you go, this is the thing I'm carving. I'm carving something to hold and honor this thing that I feel would change the world.
Yeah. And that thing to tie that thought together with your previous thought around the power of speaking that which you're committed to.
Yeah.
Right. So, because we're not talking in this spiritual, religious context, although your life could be for that. That could be your true north.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely perfect, but it doesn't have to be. I mean, mind is people experience agency in their life, and it's not, I mean, on one hand, everything's spiritual, but without speaking it regularly, I mean, journaling it, speaking it, finding ways to keep it alive, without creating it, you wind up making the donuts. That's the default context. The default is time to make the donuts. The default is, chipping stone. That's it's the lowest possible energy level, and this is entropy, physical law of the universe, no escaping this one. Everything falls to its lowest potential energy state. Everything is falling apart. So, I mean, I like saying that because it makes me feel at least validated in being, 60 and having everything hurt. Everything's falling apart. Unless you put energy into it, it falls apart. That's not negotiable in this timeline, in this the multiverse we're talking to you in. That's how it works. And so there's no surprise that, which is again why I think it's bullshit when people are looking for that career where I love it and I never experienced working. Is bullshit, because you've got to put energy into it to have it raise state. And the lowest default state is making the donuts. And the opportunity is every time you find yourself making the donuts. I like how we keep shifting metaphors from making donuts to chipping stone. Mid-sentence. Every time you find yourself chipping stone, that's the opportunity to develop the muscle. That's the opportunity. It's not a sign you're in the wrong game. It's not a sign of that you're not doing the right work. It's the sign that you are, and there's an opportunity to put in some energy to raise your state, right? To raise your vibration, right? So that you are now vibrating at that which you're out to celebrate, at your true north. Just
that's good.
Background, why I chose this background. So it's my true north background, right? But that's, then you rise your vibrate. That's your opportunity. It's that you've seen what there is to do. It's not it's something to be celebrated. Like, oh, look, I have a new place to clean up. I have a new opportunity. And every time you do that, you develop a new muscle so that it gets easier and quicker for you to raise your energy state. But it's a mistake to think you're ever going to just be at that energy state.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how the Dalai Lama deals with laundry. It would be interesting, but
outsource it.
I know Esther Hicks in her mortal coil does the dishes.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think it left. Shoot, I had it and then I left it. That's good.
We were just talking about the power of speaking it and
I think there's this was to your point about, I think this is a part of the point that's what you're making. That is, to me, like repetitions that a professional, what you're saying on a professional, like amateurs show up when they get inspired, but what's it?
Yeah, I was looking for the quote. We don't have it, but I'll find it at some point. But it was amateurs wait for inspiration. Professionals show up and get to work.
Yeah. And that reminds me of Outliers or Talents Overrated, where, you've got your 10,000 hours. And there is that is, I think, widely accepted as true when it comes to chipping stone. We're like, you know what? I'm going to practice my listing presentation. I'm going to make more calls. Like, it is widely accepted that the more hours you put into your craft, right, the better at your craft you'll be. But we sort of don't make that jump when we think about our true north and the thing we're building a cathedral in honor of. Like, the more reps you get in a conversation that honor the thing your life is for, the better at it you are, the longer you can hold the frame or context of it. Like, there are no containers, there are no structures that, I don't even say none, because you and I have one in the repurposed community, but it is, it's not common to have a place where you can go and practice the conversation of what your life is for.
Yeah, and build that muscle and expand it. And it grows like any other muscle. Your ability to, I share this all the time. I am 100% flat-footed, clear. You can't mess with me about it. One of the things that has my marriage work the way it does, and for me to have the experience of being as in love with my wife as I am today, which is 25 years after we said we made our promises, is that really every time I lead an introduction to the forum, I share about how much I love her. And I did that, I don't do it as much anymore, but every month for 28 years, I shared, I always talk about it. I always talk about it. You can't hang out with me where I don't, there's very few people that have met me for any length of time that don't know how wild I am about my wife, because I make it a point to create that. And I just keep creating that. And that's what gives it to me, because I've created it enough that it just comes back to me. And, people think that this is okay. So I remember clearly the morning after our wedding. Clearly, we got it. We're in Albuquerque. We got what the hell's that hotel downtown? It's not that I don't remember where it was. My brain doesn't have the name. But it was. We got in the pickup truck. It was her dad's pickup truck, and she slides over, and I look over, and we're about to go over to her dad's house to get to have brunch with the friends and the family that all were in town. and a bright sunny day. It's beautiful, great wedding the night before. And I looked over at her and I thought, wow, that is the woman I'm going to be with the rest of my life.
Hmm.
Or not, or maybe, I mean, we'll see. Because really what happened, and I thought, well, what happened? Why, what happened last night is we said something.
Hmm.
The only thing different, the only reason why I would ever think that this is the woman I'm going to be with the rest of my life is because we said something last night.
Hmm. Hmm.
And if we start pretending that that's going to handle it,
Hmm.
it's over.
Hmm.
I mean, it's just over. There's nothing about what happened last night other than we said something. We were inspired and we said something, and now it's our job, to honor that over time, to consistently put the work in to bring honor to that which we said. And if we do that on a really moment by moment basis, it's not daily. It's got to be moment by moment. Every time I catch it missing, if I don't put the work in to actually go, okay, what that thought is dishonoring that which I said, let's get that handled. Let's get that cleaned up. Let's go to work on that, because that kind of shit just festers. Right. And then it turns into, she's the old ball and chain in about 15 days. And then it's, and I got a, glorified roommate. And then, all goes to, but we don't deal with life like that. Like, okay, I said I was inspired by this. Good. Now it's my job to maintain that inspiration. That's the Picasso quote that we started with, is that inspiration exists, but it has to find you working.
Yeah.
It's the opportunity to do that kind of work. And that's this community for sure, is a weekly conversation for that which our lives are for, our purpose, our true north. What is it that we're out to fulfill in the world that we're out committed to, and then put the work in. But it's not, it's work. It takes effort.
Yeah.
Right. But you could be doing that work with flow. You could be doing that work with flow. If you held it like you were building a cathedral to celebrate something that was important to you, you'd find yourself in flow versus, okay, I'll go to couples counseling, or however marriages fall apart. I don't know what happens there, but
yeah. I mean, if I had to itemize that, I'd say like there's a couple ingredients that I feel like we're talking that are a part of what we're talking about. One is, you'd have a true north. If you didn't have a true north, it'd be very hard for you to declare something, feel inspired by something. It would only exist as a concept for you. You'd be like, yeah, I like the concept, kind of like the concept of like, you love what you do and you never work a day in your life. Like, that's a concept, but you're like,
Hallmark card.
It's a Hallmark card. Yeah. Right. It's romantic in theory, but you would need a true north that is your true north, not someone else's, that you say that has captured your heart and soul, that you say something like you said to your wife the day you got married, like you said something and it created something, that you would say something about what your life was for, and that creates a possibility. So that's the first thing, is you'd have to have something, a true north. The second thing is then you would need a game to play, structures, drills, scrimmages. You need ways to play with the thing you say your life is for. And unless you can find that in existence, it's a whole other thing to start to try to create that for yourself. It's easier to do it if you join I'll give you an example. I played golf in college. I got some money to play golf in college, which I thought was pretty cool, but I was better in high school. I found a social life in college, and I didn't play well in college. And it's because I didn't go to practice. And it showed, like there's a place where, but flip that around. You say you're really good, you're a professional, and you show up instead of waiting to be inspired to practice. You just show up like a professional does, not like I did. And with Mariners, they practice. You don't get to say like, this is practice. So you show up and you do it. And it's easier when you're in a space that is already doing the work of practice than you having to motivate yourself to go practice. So that's an ingredient, right? Is like true north is identified, and that there is space to practice in.
Yeah. And then a community of people that you know, being accountable to them,
Yeah.
that where it's going to be enlivening. You know, the thing about our weekly calls is that there's always a new angle on it.
Yeah.
You know, like these podcasts, there's always some new way to look at that. There's only one diamond, right? That's your true north. That's it. But then you're looking at the multifaceted ways to get into it and hold it. And then a community of people in which you're supported in taking that action.
Yeah.
You know, just to go back, you know, with my marriage, you know, I mean, I don't know, maybe the 4 times that we've had, I can think of 2 specific times where we've had fights that were like, okay, I'm done. You know, it's just like, I can't with this. And, you know, we have a community of friends that listen to us that, you know, I got on the phone to, you know, my friend Raymond, and I was like, okay, dude, this is, and to Christine, my business partner at one time. And both of them were like, okay. And all they did was they listened from, I mean, they didn't say they were doing this, but I know this is what they were doing because it's what I would do, is they were listening from, okay, I'm the space of what you promised. And I'm going to reflect back to you what might be missing in you honoring what you promised. And they just did that. And, you know, it sorted itself out relatively quickly, but that was a function of my having created with my community what I was up to, what I was committed to.
Yeah.
Right. And having them be a stalwart, like a wall, like, okay, you're not getting off the hook for this. Right. You know, you're not like feet to the fire, but like, okay, I'm going to reflect back to you everything that's missing because I know who you are. I know what you're committed to. And that's a really valuable function of community. That's a whole other podcast. I think Chris is in there, the value of community in terms of holding one's space.
Yeah.
And holding one to account and allowing one to hold oneself to account, which is really what I want to explore in life, is not holding people to account, but the opportunity of allowing people to hold themselves to account. Like, what's the difference between those 2 spaces? But I think I know there's another episode in us about that.
Nice. Yeah. That's so good. Wow. That's really, I mean, I'll have to listen to that one again. I think that's super rich. Like, there's definitely, on one hand, it's very, I feel like in this episode, we're definitely peeking into the essence of things, the spirit of things. But on the flip side, there's also some tangible stuff here. Like, this isn't just Hallmark cards. Like, there's, you know, there's the real stuff we can go to work with.
Yeah. This is moving from Hallmark to real life and how to keep that into, you know, flow. How would you, you know, how do you do that without it being breaking rocks? You know, how are you going to live your life building a cathedral, celebrating that which your life is for?
Yeah. Wow.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. If you're interested, Chris, you do the outro. I love your outro.
Yeah. If you want to learn more about the workshops that Aaron and I are doing to help you find your true north from grind to flow, you can go to repurpose.group/workshop. And you'll see when the next upcoming workshop is. At the time of this recording, it is this Friday, April 7th. But if you're listening to this after that time, then just check that page because we always update that. If you'd like to learn more about the community where you can actually be in in a space with others who are in this conversation about what their life is for, you can go to repurpose.group/invite. There's an application page there for our community of real estate agents who say their life is for something more than GCI and are working that out and walking each other home. So repurpose.group/invite. Aaron, always good, man. Love it. Thank you so much for your time and your heart and all that you're here for. It's fun to be in partnership with you.
I love it, Chris. I'm very happy.